Hi there, and welcome to the Alberta Update. I am your host, Bruce McAllister. Thank you for joining us as we take a first-hand look at what's happening in your province. Ministers Jason Nixon and Mike Ellis will be along. We'll have all the news of what the province and the government have been up to in the last month or so. But the big news right now is coming out of the United States, and we'll welcome in the Premier for a discussion on these things. Premier, first of all, good day. I know you've been busy. Thanks for making some time.
My pleasure. Nice to talk to you, Bruce.
Hey, what a whirlwind January has been for a first month to the year. They've been talking about the three T's, I guess, trade, tariffs, and Trump, and it looks like they're coming whether we like it or not.
Yeah, there's been two deadlines that the incoming president has set for us. One is that February 1st, if we don't show that we're serious about stopping the flow of fentanyl and illegal migrants across the border, we'd be looking at a 25% across the board tariff. It looks like that's coming based on his most recent statements. And then April 1st, there's going to be another look at our entire trade relationship to see if any further tariff action is taken. So we're in for a bit of a bumpy few months here with our best friend and trading partner.
Well, look, you have been lobbying intensely. You've talked to the President of the United States. You've talked to just about every decision maker that you could. You've taken the tact of diplomacy, which many encourage you and suggest you should. Some in the country have not taken that approach. What can you say about what you've heard from some of the people you've talked to in the United States? They must understand how intertwined our industries are.
And it's across the board. I mean, the obvious case and our biggest area of integration is, of course, oil and gas. And it's not just oil and gas going down to the United States. It's U.S. oil and gas coming back up into Canada, especially into Eastern Canada. And so when you start seeing tariffs applied on that essential product, it's going to increase the cost of everything. And we've anticipated that we'd see gasoline prices in the markets most affected go up by as much as a buck a liter or a buck a gallon. So I think that is something that we'll have to consider in what kind of response Canada ends up taking. But tariff wars do not help anybody. They harm American consumers. Retaliatory tariffs harm Canadian consumers. If it keeps on escalating, it's just going to create a lot of damage to the relationship. So my approach has been diplomacy, because that's been the Alberta way since 2005, since we had an office in Washington when we first started. It's continued all the way up to this decision, and it'll continue on, because now we have to work at figuring out a way to get them off again. And I think that's going to be occupying the time of most of the elected leaders in Canada for the next while.
Premier, I don't know if I'd call this a silver lining. I don't know that there's any silver lining in this. However, let me qualify. At least the rest of the nation and some of the politicians outside of Alberta seem to be realizing that pipelines to Tidewater might actually make sense for a nation trying to export its product for the betterment of the world and the country. Would you say that the nation has indeed woken up to the importance of Alberta's energy market and getting our product to other locations?
100%. When you talk about having leverage in trade negotiations, the leverage is, okay, if you don't want to buy our stuff, we'll sell it to somebody else. And the problem with all of the provinces on all of the various goods that we provide is that our principal relationship is north-south rather than east-west with each other, or rather than export off the East Coast to the markets there, or export off the West Coast to the markets there. And I would say that applies pretty well across the board, and it's part of the reason why Canada is so vulnerable when you have an unpredictable neighbor willing to use tariffs as a tool of policy. But when you look at pipelines in particular, we had $176 billion worth of proposed projects that got canceled because of the uncertainty created by various government laws, the ban on export of bitumen from the West Coast, the No More Pipelines bill, the threats of a net zero electricity grid, of an emissions cap on oil, emissions cap on methane, net zero vehicles. The list goes on and on and on. And all of that dampens investment. And we've seen the results of it. It's actually sort of surprising that the Coastal GasLink pipeline got finished, and LNG Canada appears very close to getting their product to market. And once it's on the water, it can go anywhere in the world. So that's one sort of release valve. And then Trans Mountain, we saw that immediately, being able to export 700,000 barrels a day to a customer other than the United States does give us the ability to diversify our markets even further. But we could have had so much more if we'd built Northern Gateway, if we built Energy East. Energy East would have made sure that our neighbors weren't reliant on U.S. oil and gas, that they could have got it from us. And if you look at Northern Gateway, it is another way that we would have been able to really expand out our markets. So I think these are the frustrations that I have, is that it would have been nice if we'd been able to get some of those projects going. But now is the time for us to talk with each other as Canadians. What are we going to do to start doing more trade with each other? What are we going to do to stop blocking access to each other's goods getting to markets so that we can develop those new markets?
Oh, so well put. You've started a lot of these conversations around the country. Premier, I'm assuming you're going to be working your phone and probably heading south as often as you can to talk with your U.S. counterparts to try and do all we can for Alberta and this country going forward.
You bet I will. I mean, that's what I've been doing up to this point. Up to this point, it was all to the objective of trying to avoid tariffs from being imposed at all, not on Alberta, not Alberta alone, but on all of Canada, because I think there's such a strong case for us to make about our integrated markets that are far better supporting each other in mutual aspirations to have North American energy dominance, to make sure that we've got reliable, low-cost power, to make sure that we have AI dominance with the new development of data centers. I think those are all things that we share in common with the United States, but we have to address the problems they've identified first. And having an illegal flow of fentanyl and illegal flow of migrants across the border is just one of those things we've got to do more to demonstrate that we're going to stop that flow if we're going to get back to some constructive trade conversations. It's why I asked for the federal government to immediately announce a border czar, so that we have someone with the credibility to execute on a plan to work with Tom Homan in the United States and make sure that even though we have all of these leadership disruptions that are happening at the federal level, there's a consistent voice that can put a plan forward. I haven't seen anything yet, but I think that there does need to be some action on the federal government to demonstrate they take it more seriously.
Yeah, that and a federal government with a mandate for sure. Premier, thank you for your leadership on this. Thanks for joining us, and good luck. We're glad you're at the helm.
Thanks, Bruce.
One of the early demands from the Trump administration to Canada, as the Premier just discussed, was the need to take action to secure the border. The U.S. President has been very vocal about the need for Canada and Mexico to secure their borders, to stop the trade of illegal drugs and from migrants crossing the border. In response, Alberta's government announced a series of measures to strengthen border security. And the man in charge of that for the Alberta government is Minister Mike Ellis, the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services, and he joins us now to talk more about it. Good day, Minister.
Good day, Bruce.
Listen, you created a new patrol team for border security here in Alberta. Tell us first, Minister, who will be on this team and how will it work?
Well, thanks, Bruce. It's called the Interdiction Patrol Teams. We have 51 officers that will be deployed in the southern Alberta region, working alongside the Canada Border Service agents as well as the RCMP. Really, it is about stopping drug smuggling, human trafficking, illegal guns, whether this is going from Canada into the United States or from the United States into Canada. We're utilizing technology. We have drones. We have ATVs. We have drug dogs, as an example. I can tell you some of the technology that they're using at the weigh station at the Coutts border, for example, because a lot of the intelligence is indicating that commercial vehicles are kind of the method for which drugs and other nefarious items are being trafficked either into Canada or from Canada into the United States, utilizing technology to stop that. So very impressed with what I saw down at the Coutts border.
Listen, I think we've got some video of some of the work that's been going on down at the border that we'll look at while you and I discuss this. So tell us, what's the current status of the team? I mean, clearly you're taking what the U.S. President had to say seriously, you and the Premier. When will it be fully operational?
Well, I can tell you the officers have been deployed as of January 20th. And I'm sure you're aware of this. I know the Premier put this in my mandate letter. This is something that we actually have preparing for quite some time, just in regards to border security. I met with heads of the RCMP as well as the Canada Border Services Agency to kind of discuss, really the strength of and the collaboration that is being used down there at the border, and between the work that is being done by the national RCMP with the work that is being done by Canada Border Service agents, in combination with our officers that have been deployed, the resources that we have been deployed. I can tell you with certainty, as I indicated yesterday at the border, that this border is secure.
Yeah, listen, you mentioned the RCMP and Canada Border Services Agency. Clearly, those are both federal agencies, as you say, but that should not stop us from working together for the betterment of Alberta, for Canadians, and obviously to take the U.S. concern seriously here.
Yeah, look, I mean, President Trump had indicated that he had some concerns regarding drugs that might be flowing from Canada into the United States. We take those concerns very seriously, but as I've indicated, it is a two-way street, which is why we had been doing a lot of this early preparation. We had concerns regarding drugs that might be coming from the United States into Canada. I have had a lot of discussions, or a few discussions, I'd say, with the Attorney General in Montana. We don't necessarily have a lot of issues, we'll say. Nothing is ever absolute, but to say that people are walking across the border from the U.S. into Canada or Canada into the U.S., we don't really have any reports of that. However, I can say with certainty that the border is secure and that will not be happening, even if somebody did attempt to do that. But what we are seeing is drugs that are being smuggled again through commercial vehicles. And I think it's important, Bruce, that I let anybody who might be watching this who thinks that drugs can easily be smuggled through any one of our 6 ports of entry that lead into Montana. There are checkpoints that we have with the Alberta sheriffs. There's a checkpoint, of course, at the Canada border, and there's a checkpoint with the Americans on the other side. So if anybody thinks that you can smuggle guns or drugs or human beings, I'm going to tell you right now that will not happen. And if you try, you will go to jail.
All right. Listen, take that seriously, no doubt. Before I let you go, Minister, one more question. Your ministry just launched the electronic monitoring program. I think this was part of the Safe Streets Action Plan. What will it do? How is it going to improve safety for Albertans?
Yeah, well, I think everybody's aware, as far as your viewers are aware, I've been saying this for quite some time, and Bill C-75 has really allowed broken the bail system, and we have violent repeat criminal offenders that probably should be in jail that are not in jail. So we, of course, had to think outside of the box. So we're utilizing technology. This is a tool in the toolbox for our judiciary, as an example, and of course, Crown prosecutors. If there's somebody for which the system wants to release, certainly an application can be made through the courts. It's going to be monitored via our corrections, and I can tell you they're doing an outstanding job. This is, I think, as of a couple of weeks, they've been up and running, ready to go, and really, for those people that think that they can be released on a court order now, and that nobody is going to be looking at them or checking up on them, and that they can go and break those orders. I can tell you that is not going to happen. And of course, we do need a judicial order when it comes to that. We certainly respect the courts when it comes to that. But this is a tool in the toolbox to keep Albertans safe. As the Premier has indicated, as I've indicated, we're going to do whatever it takes to keep Albertans safe. And this is a promise made, promise kept.
Minister, we are glad you are working on these things. Thank you for that, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, sir.
There's Minister Mike Ellis, the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services in Alberta. Well, Alberta is setting some new records on healthcare, despite some of the rhetoric and headlines that you might see out there in the mainstream media. The province now has more registered physicians than ever, with 12,212 doctors registered to practice here in the province. In 2024 alone, Alberta welcomed 474 new physicians, one of the highest yearly increases in over a decade. This growth aligns with the Alberta government's ongoing effort to train, hire, and attract more doctors into healthcare. The province continues to focus on ensuring residents have better access to care, to professionals, and the quality of healthcare that they need now and into the future. Some big changes are coming for seniors in terms of seniors' care in the province. The Alberta government is launching Assisted Living Alberta. It is a new provincial continuing care agency designed to support seniors and vulnerable populations. This move is part of a broader effort to refocus healthcare and to ensure that Albertans can age with dignity and independence. And the man in charge of that from the ministry is the Minister of Seniors, Community and Social Services, Jason Nixon. He joins us now to talk more about it. Good day, Minister.
Thanks for having me on, Bruce.
Minister, a broad question off the top. What is Assisted Living Alberta? Tell us a little bit more about why you established it and what you hope it accomplishes.
Well, the Alberta government made a decision to break the healthcare system into 4 organizations: Acute Care Alberta, Primary Care Alberta, Mental Health and Addictions Alberta, and also a continuing care organization, which we are going to announce today, that is Assisted Living Alberta, going forward underneath the leadership of my ministry, Seniors, Community and Social Services. And so this is about 19% of the health sector, which we are going to be taking over the operations of, really focused on making sure that we have a great system in place to care for those who built our province, to be able to make sure that Alberta is not only the best place to live and work, but it's also the best place to retire. And we're looking forward to seeing some of the changes that we're going to make as a result of this decision going forward. But this is really just another step along the way in the Premier's objective of refocusing the healthcare system to be able to make sure that it's getting the best results for the people of Alberta.
Fabulous. Listen, talk a little bit about the goals, what you're hoping to accomplish, and maybe a two-parter as well, the second part of that. How will it benefit Albertans who rely on continuing care services, Minister?
Well, ultimately, it's going to provide better service. So I'll start with how it benefits Albertans. Right now we're seeing a lot of our continuing care services be given in the wrong place in the healthcare system, often in the emergency room. For example, seniors, about 70% of people entering continuing care are doing so through the ER, which is really an unfortunate experience, or finding themselves inside acute care beds where they don't need to be, where they're deteriorating by upwards of 5% a day in their conditioning because they're in the wrong bed. And so what I think you ultimately will see is Albertans in the right place for the help that they need for the situation that they find themselves in, which will benefit everybody. I think you're also going to see an organization that's very much focused on its objective of caring for people long-term in the system, because we don't need to spend our time focusing on acute care. We'll let our colleagues over in Acute Care Alberta do that. We're going to be focused on building community that provides more than just medical service, but provides stability for people long-term as they live inside our communities. And the other thing I really want to emphasize is that there's going to be a lot of effort on making sure that our elders, our seniors, and others who need the healthcare system inside our community can be in their community. I represent a lot of rural areas, as you know, Bruce, and we really are tired of seeing our grandparents and our parents have to go to other places in the province to receive services. So we're going to be working to make sure that all Albertans can receive the services that they need as they age in the communities that they want to call home.
That's it. Look, aging in place is so important, isn't it? Minister, there are always a few hiccups when you implement a new program. I know you've thought this through, but will there be any changes for Albertans in terms of how they access the services they need? Anything you need to inform people about?
The only changes, I think, will be that it will be getting better. But at the end of the day, for the entire health refocusing, you enter the system the same way. We're working together to be able to make sure that the healthcare in that context doesn't change. If you have an emergency, call 911, get in an ambulance, go to the hospital. If you're trying to interact with a continuing care facility, work through your doctor into that continuing care facility. Nothing changes like that for Albertans, other than a desire to make services more efficient and making sure that Albertans are in the right place for the services that they need long-term.
Well, ministers, one more topic I'd like to cover before I let you go. Listen, if I've heard you say it once, I've heard you say 100 times about how important it is to rebuild Jasper, how important it is to you and to this government. I know you've been working to get that done, but I gather you're running into some roadblocks from Ottawa. Can you explain what's happening and how you're trying to work through it?
Yeah, at the end of the day, the Alberta government has no jurisdiction in Jasper. It's the way it works with the National Park Service. It is federal government jurisdiction. And so from day one, we've been trying to help while working around those parameters. But we can't do things in Jasper without the help of the federal government. And at times, we have not heard back from the federal government for months at a time. The Premier recently wrote a letter to the Prime Minister just before Christmas that still has not been responded to, which is just outrageous. And it shows some of the challenges that we're facing in that community. I'm happy to report today that under massive pressure from the provincial government, the federal government is finally stepping up and making sure that interim housing can go into Jasper. We've been trying to build that for almost 6 months, but of course could not do so if we didn't receive land. So we're seeing some movement as a result of the pressure from the province. But at the end of the day, what we need is the federal government to step in, supervise the Parks Department to make sure unnecessary red tape and hurdles are being removed out of the way so people who've lost their homes can rebuild this crown jewel of our province and make sure that Jasper can continue to be here for multiple generations to come. You know, simple things like now the Parks Department's asking for extra soil testing that you see nowhere else in the country. Extra burdens on how you file building permits. There are still no development permits that have been put in place as far as we're aware. And so these are the things that we're going to continue to push on. We're seeing some results at times, but because of the chaos in Ottawa, we're seeing long periods of time where federal politicians are not doing their job and getting in there and helping this community. At the end of the day, this should not be a partisanship issue. Let's work together to help Canadians who lost their homes in Jasper. Let's work together to build this community so that it can be here for Canada, again, for generations to come. And that's what Alberta is going to continue to focus on. But we're also going to continue to actively call on the federal government to do their job in their jurisdiction.
Absolutely. Listen, can't say it any better than that. Glad you're on the case, Minister. As always, thank you for your time. We appreciate you joining us.
Great to see you, Bruce. Take care.
There is the Minister of Seniors, Community and Social Services, Jason Nixon, joining us on the Alberta Update. Well, Alberta is experiencing a record-breaking housing boom, in part thanks to that minister we just spoke to. The surge in construction is helping to stabilize housing costs as well as meet the growing demand for housing. Year-end data from the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation confirming that the province led the country in housing starts per capita in 2024, setting historic records in new home construction. Now, last year, Alberta saw a 32% increase in new homes under construction. That was compared to 2023. The first half of 2024 also saw record-breaking starts on apartment units, surpassing a record set way back in 1977. This construction boom marking a significant step forward in Alberta's housing landscape, providing more opportunities for home buyers and renters alike. The province is emphasizing that by cutting red tape, incentivizing new construction, and supporting innovative building strategies, they are ensuring that more homes are built faster to meet the needs and the budgets of Albertans. A major victory for Calgary and the future of public transit, as Calgary City Council made a decision to proceed with a revised Green Line LRT project. The new plan significantly expands the line's reach and accessibility by adding 5 more stations, extending the line by 76% and serving 60% more Calgarians than the previous design would have. In a major cost-saving measure, the updated alignment features an elevated structure through downtown, eliminating the need for expensive tunneling and saving over $1 billion. The savings will be reinvested into the project, allowing for an extended route further south to Shepherd. With the decision in place, construction now could begin as early as the spring. Well, this week we have been bringing awareness to something that Alberta does better than any other jurisdiction, and that is cut red tape. Alberta is leading the country in cutting unnecessary red tape, making it faster and more affordable for businesses to grow, which helps create more jobs. Minister of Service and Alberta Red Tape Reduction, Dale Nally, showing us how these effects make Alberta the best place to live, work, and grow their business.
This week, we're celebrating something that we do better than any other province in Canada. January 27th to January 31st is Red Tape Awareness Week across the country, and for us, it's a chance to toot our own horn. In Alberta, our attitude about red tape has always been simple and straightforward. When we see red tape, we cut it. In the last 5 years, we've saved Albertans and businesses $2.9 billion which has continued to help make Alberta the best place to live, invest, and do business. Our efforts have earned us top grades from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business for the last 4 years, and we're optimistic about our chances again this year. This week, you'll hear more about what we've been doing to keep up our momentum on cutting unnecessary red tape. We're not taking our foot off the gas, and we're certainly not putting our scissors away. After all, we are the best, and we want to keep it that way.
Alberta is supporting our neighbors to the south in their fight against devastating fires impacting Southern California. Alberta Wildfire has sent 2 crews of firefighters to California to assist in battling the raging wildfires sweeping through parts of that state. The crews departed mid-January, bringing with them expertise and determination to help contain the flames threatening homes and communities. When they arrived January 16th, Alberta's wildland firefighters quickly joined the front lines as well, working tirelessly alongside their American counterparts. Our crews deployed to the Lilac Fire, located north of San Diego, and other tackling the E10 fire in Los Angeles County. Those brave men and women providing critical support during an extremely challenging time, reinforcing the strong partnership we have now after weeks of hard-fought time battling these flames, these crews wrapping up their mission and preparing for their return home. And we certainly thank them all for their hard work. I know their neighbors very thankful for their efforts as well. Well, that does it for this edition of the Alberta Update. So much going on in the province. Happy to bring you a first-hand look at what your government is up to, including conversations with the ministers and your premier. Remember to subscribe to the Alberta Update on YouTube, or you can also find it now on Rumble, and we will, of course, post it on all the socials for you to check out as well. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.